Okay, you want a food truck, bright lights, a cool wrap, long lines of customers, and cash in your pocket every single night while you cook exactly what you want. It looks like the ultimate culinary freedom, minimal overhead, high visibility, and the flexibility to drive where the hungry people are. You go to a festival, see 200 people waiting for $15 tacos, and your brain does the simple multiplication. That's the dream. Here's what nobody tells you before you buy the truck. A food truck business is rarely about the food. It is about logistics, maintenance, regulatory compliance, and marketing. Every cost in this entire industry exists to protect the single hour a day you might actually be profitable. Because if the truck breaks down, the propane runs out, or the health inspector shuts you down, you are not a chef. You are just a person driving a very expensive, very hot mobile storage unit. In brick-and-mortar restaurants, the kitchen is built, the foundation is solid, and the utilities are locked in. In a food truck, everything hits you at once, and everything is fragile. Your kitchen is essentially in a minor automobile accident every time you drive. So what actually makes a food truck profitable? It's not the taco. It's the ruthless management of the spread between your prime costs and your revenue. Let's build the real numbers, starting before you ever slice a single onion. Before you serve a customer, you need the truck. This is your biggest upfront cost, and it dictates the ceiling of your operational capacity. A brand new, customized food truck, built from the chassis up with professional-grade stainless steel, fire suppression, and optimized ventilation, commonly runs $150,000 to $250,000. It is a massive liability, but it comes with a manufacturer's warranty and requires less immediate maintenance. The used route ranges from $60,000 to $100,000. But used doesn't just mean worn tires. It means a kitchen that has endured thousands of miles of vibration. Leasing a truck, often $3,000 to $5,000 a month, preserves your startup capital but severely drains your monthly cash flow right out of the gate. This is where most first-time owners fail. They spend their entire budget on the truck, completely neglecting the critical $30,000 to $50,000 cash cushion needed for initial stock, licenses, marketing, and the inevitable first 3 months of operational losses. The build-out trap, custom versus used. If you buy a used delivery step van and decide to build the kitchen yourself to save money, you are entering the build-out trap. Commercial kitchens require specific plumbing for gray water, precisely calculated electrical loads for refrigeration, and industrial-grade exhaust hoods. A DIY build-out frequently fails municipal health and safety inspections. Retrofitting a poorly built truck to meet local fire codes can instantly cost $15,000 in unexpected modifications. You aren't just building a kitchen, you are engineering a high-voltage, propane-fueled cooking environment inside a moving metal box. If the weight distribution is wrong, you blow the suspension. If the wiring is wrong, the truck burns down. If the truck is the body, the licenses are the blood. You cannot operate legally without them. You need a business license, a sales tax permit, a fire safety permit, and crucially, a health department permit. Here's the complexity brick and mortar rarely faces. Health permits are jurisdictional. If you want to serve in the downtown core in City A on Tuesdays and the Tech Park in City B on Wednesdays, you need permits for both. Total costs for this bureaucratic gauntlet commonly reach $3,000 to $10,000 before you serve your first meal. Operating without them doesn't just mean a fine. It means the immediate impounding of your entire business. Nobody puts insurance on the highlight reel, but no bank, commissary, or event organizer will let you near them without proof of it. And it is far more expensive than a standard restaurant policy. A stationary restaurant needs a general liability policy and maybe workers' comp. A food truck needs that, plus a commercial auto policy rated for a vehicle that is also a kitchen, plus product liability coverage in case someone gets sick, plus equipment coverage for the fryers and refrigeration units bolted inside a moving frame. Commercial auto alone for a converted truck often runs $4,000 to $8,000 a year, because insurers treat it as a higher-risk hybrid asset. Part vehicle, part kitchen, part liability magnet. Stack general liability, product liability, and workers' comp on top. And a fully covered truck is commonly paying $8,000 to $15,000 a year in total premiums. Skip it, and you don't just risk a fine. Most commissaries won't rent you a stall, Most festivals won't issue you a pitch, and one grease fire without coverage can end the business in an afternoon. Insurance isn't overhead you can trim, it's the ticket that lets you play the game at all. This is the largest operating constraint brick and mortar owners have never heard of. You cannot cook the bulk of your food on the truck. It's illegal in most major cities. Regulators require you to prepare your ingredients, store your bulk food, and clean your equipment at a certified, stationary commercial kitchen, known as a commissary. Commissary fees are typically a monthly membership fee, often $1,000 to $2,500. This is an enormous, invisible monthly fixed cost. It hits your balance sheet whether you sell one taco or 10,000. A community truck operating with low volume simply cannot support this overhead. In a stationary restaurant, utilities are predictable. In a food truck, your utilities are volatile commodities. A busy truck might spend $500 to $1,000 a week purely on propane to keep the fryers and flat tops running. Then there is diesel or gas for the engine. Driving a heavy metal kitchen across the city in stop-and-go traffic means your mileage is abysmal. Fuel can easily cost $200 a week. That means $1,200 of your weekly revenue is gone, just to keep the truck moving and the oil hot, before a single ingredient is bought. Underneath the propane story is a second, quieter fuel problem: electricity. Refrigeration, lighting, POS systems, and exhaust fans all need continuous power, and most trucks aren't just idling off the engine. They're running a dedicated onboard generator. A commercial-grade generator sized for a full kitchen build costs $8,000 to $15,000 up front, and it needs its own oil changes, filters, and rebuilds separate from the truck's engine ever. Often another $1,000 to $2,000 a year in maintenance most new owners never budget for. Run it all day at a festival, and it burns its own gallon or two of gas an hour, on top of what you're already spending to drive. Some trucks try to offset this with rooftop solar and battery banks, which can cut generator runtime for lighting and POS, but rarely produce enough to run a fryer or flat top. The loads are too heavy. The generator isn't a backup system. For most trucks, it's the actual power plant, and it fails exactly when you need it most: mid-rush, fully loaded, running hot. Prime costs are the combination of your cost of goods sold, food, and your labor. For a successful truck, these should ideally sit between 55% and 60% of total revenue. Food cost management in a mobile environment is exponentially harder than in a restaurant. Space is minimal. Bulk storage is physically impossible on the truck, forcing you to buy smaller quantities more frequently, which drastically increases your unit cost. Even more critical is waste. Food prepared for a Monday lunch rush that doesn't materialize because of a sudden rainstorm must often be thrown away. Spoilage on a truck can quickly escalate to 10% or 15% of your food cost. A food truck operates on speed. You cannot run a successful, high-volume truck alone. A two-person operation is the absolute minimum. A busy truck requires 3. Labor costs often range from 20% to 25% of gross revenue. The unique challenge here is shift flexibility. You need intense labor for 3 hours during lunch, but you don't need anyone on a rainy Tuesday. Retaining reliable employees who only get 15 erratic hours a week is a massive managerial headache. And if the owner acts as the chef to save on labor, they aren't making a business profit. They've just bought themselves an exhausting 80-hour-a-week cooking job. Erratic hours don't just make scheduling hard, they make turnover brutal. And turnover has its own hidden price tag. Most owners never put a number on. Every time a line cook or window staffer quits, you lose more than a body. You lose the 2 weeks of slower ticket times while someone new learns your prep, your recipes, and your window flow, directly hitting the throughput math that determines whether you break even that week. Industry estimates put the true cost of replacing a single frontline food service worker, counting lost productivity, retraining time, and rehiring effort, at several hundred to over $1,000 per departure. On a truck running lean with 2 or 3 staff, losing even one person mid-season isn't a minor HR issue. It's a temporary demotion of your entire operation's speed right when the summer rush is paying the bills. Trucks that survive tend to overinvest in cross-training every staffer on every station specifically, so one resignation doesn't stall the whole line. Here is where the actual mechanics of food truck profitability are won or lost. On a food truck, a 20-item menu is a death sentence. Every additional item requires unique ingredients and dedicated cooler space. But the real killer is ticket time. The maximum capacity of a truck is dictated by how fast you can hand food out the window. If your signature dish takes 6 minutes to plate and you have a 2-hour lunch rush window, your absolute maximum theoretical output is 20 meals an hour per cook. If those meals cost $12, you are mathematically capped at $240 an hour. You will never out-earn your fixed costs at that speed. Profitable trucks operate on hyper-focused menus, 3 to 5 items, utilizing overlapping ingredients, dropping ticket times down to 45 seconds. Speed scales. Variety bankrupts. You've calculated food cost, labor, propane, and rent. Now subtract another line almost nobody mentions on the whiteboard: the cost of getting paid at all. Modern food trucks live and die on card and mobile payments. Cash-only lines are slower and scare off customers who don't carry bills. But every card swipe, tap, or app order costs you 2.5% to 3.5% in processing fees, plus a monthly fee for the card reader and POS hardware, which itself is commonly $50 to $150 a month depending on the provider. On a truck doing $10,000 in a good month, that's $250 to $350 disappearing before it ever touches your bank account. Money that isn't in your prime cost calculation but comes straight off your bottom line regardless. It sounds small next to a $15,000 truck payment, but stacked against a margin that's already thin after food, labor, propane, and rent, that 3% is often the difference between a technically profitable month and a break-even one. The big myth is flexibility. The people are at the park today, I'll drive to the park. Profitability in this industry depends on consistency, not wandering. High-volume foot traffic locations like downtown business districts and medical centers are fiercely competitive and highly regulated. To get the best spots, you often have to negotiate exclusive contracts with property managers or pay daily parking fees. If you don't have a guaranteed high-traffic anchor location for your weekday lunches, you are simply burning diesel driving around hoping to get lucky. To solve the location problem, the industry created food truck parks. These are dedicated lots with permanent seating, restrooms, and sometimes integrated commissaries. They provide guaranteed foot traffic and a built-in audience. But this security comes at a steep price. Food truck parks operate exactly like landlords. They typically charge 10% to 15% of your gross revenue as rent, or demand exorbitant flat monthly fees. While it solves your location anxiety, giving up 15% of your top line instantly compresses your already razor-thin profit margins, forcing you to do massive volume just to break even. Just as location scarcity pushed trucks into paying park rent, order scarcity is pushing trucks onto delivery and ordering apps. And the economics are strikingly similar to the festival trap. Listing on a major delivery platform puts your truck in front of customers who would never have found your parking spot. But these platforms typically take a 15% to 30% commission on every order, on top of payment processing that's often bundled separately. A $15 burrito that nets you $9 to $10 in a direct window sale can shrink to $10 to $11 after a 20 to 25% app commission, and that's before your food cost and labor are even subtracted. The trap is that once a truck builds a following on an app, walking away means losing that entire customer channel overnight. Smart operators treat delivery apps as a marketing expense for discovery, not a primary revenue stream, and work to convert app customers into direct repeat customers who order straight from the truck, where the margin actually survives. It is the image that sells the dream: a massive summer music festival, a line stretching across the grass, and a $10,000 weekend. But event organizers know they hold the keys to the crowd and they price their access accordingly. Getting into a major festival requires a flat pitch fee ranging from $1,000 to $3,000 just to park. If they don't charge a flat fee, they will take a 20% to 25% revenue split monitored directly through their own point-of-sale systems. If it rains on Saturday, the crowd doesn't show up. Your entry fee is non-refundable, your labor is paid, and your coolers are packed with perishable food. A bad weekend at a major festival can put a truck so far into the red that it takes a month of street parking to recover. While festivals look glamorous, the quiet, unsexy secret to food truck survival is private catering. Corporate lunches, weddings, and film sets provide what street service never can: guaranteed revenue paid in advance. In a catering model, you know exactly how many people you are feeding. Your food waste drops to zero. Your labor is perfectly scheduled. Trucks that survive their first 3 years almost universally pivot to a model where 40% to 50% of their revenue comes from private, contracted catering gigs rather than street service. Unless you operate in a permanently warm climate, seasonality is the silent killer of the mobile food industry. When the temperature drops below freezing, foot traffic evaporates. Mechanical issues multiply, water lines freeze, and engines refuse to turn over. Revenues in the winter months can drop by 60% to 80%. But your commercial auto insurance, your truck loan, and your commissary rent remain exactly the same. To survive the winter squeeze, truck must stockpile a massive cash reserve during the summer. The profit you made in July isn't extra money to take home. It is the life support system that pays the bills in February. This is the number one cause of food truck bankruptcy. When a stationary restaurant's grill breaks, they close the kitchen for an hour and call a repairman. When a food truck's engine or transmission fails, the entire business must be towed to a secure lot. A blown transmission is a $5,000 repair, but the real cost is the downtime. While the truck sits in the shop for 2 weeks, your monthly fixed costs do not stop, but your revenue drops to zero. If you zeroed out your emergency cushion to make the initial truck purchase, this one mechanical failure is a catastrophic, business-ending event. Because your physical location changes, your social media presence is your actual storefront. It is not optional. People must know where you are parking before they leave their office. A single community truck often spends several $100s a month on social media management, localized geo-fenced ads, and automated text alerts just to keep customers engaged. If your truck is parked in a prime location but your audience doesn't know you're there, your high-volume spot is financially worthless. Before the truck ever posts on social media, it's already advertising itself, and that visual layer costs real money most first-timers underestimate. A professional vinyl wrap, the full-color branded skin covering the entire vehicle, commonly runs $5,000 to $12,000 depending on the truck's size and design complexity, and it isn't a one-time cost. Vinyl degrades under constant sun exposure and road grime, typically needing a partial refresh or full replacement every 3 to 5 years at close to the original price. A faded, peeling wrap doesn't just look unprofessional. On a mobile business where the truck itself is the storefront, it actively signals to potential customers that the operation is struggling, which can suppress sales at exactly the locations meant to build your brand. Some owners try to offset the cost by selling small ad space on side panels to local businesses, but this rarely covers more than a fraction of the wrap's cost and can clutter the branding you paid for in the first place. The wrap is marketing infrastructure, not decoration. Budget for it like a recurring capital expense, not a one-off purchase. Once a truck hits capacity, owners naturally want to scale. They buy truck number 2. Scaling from 1 truck to 2 requires almost a complete duplication of your overhead. 2 sets of permits, 2 insurance policies, double the propane, and twice the maintenance liability. The only economic advantage is leveraging the existing commissary fee across a larger revenue base. But managing multiple mobile teams, scheduling double the slots, and maintaining 2 separate engines is a logistical nightmare that breaks most owners. Scaling too fast on thin margins is the most common late-stage failure. Every cost so far has been operational, and it's just as capable of sinking a truck that's otherwise running well. Multi-jurisdiction operation means multi-jurisdiction tax filing. If your truck legally serves 3 different cities or counties across a week, you may owe sales tax filings in each of them, with different rates, different forms, and different deadlines. Add payroll taxes for erratic part-time staff, quarterly estimated income tax payments, and equipment depreciation schedules for the truck itself, and most owners end up paying a bookkeeper or accountant $200 to $500 a month just to stay compliant. Before tax season even arrives, when a specialized preparer familiar with mobile food businesses can add another $1,000 to $3,000 for the annual filing. Skipping this and doing it yourself in spare hours sounds like a saving, until a missed jurisdictional filing turns into penalties and interest that dwarf what the bookkeeper would have charged. The paperwork doesn't stop the truck from moving, but it can absolutely stop the truck from operating legally if it's ignored. Strip away the excitement, and every food truck owner needs one number memorized cold: the monthly nut. The total fixed cost that must be covered before a single dollar counts as profit, added up. A truck loan or lease payment, commissary rent, insurance premiums, POS and processing fees, marketing spend, bookkeeping fees, and a portion set aside for the generator, wrap, and maintenance reserve. For a modestly financed single truck, that fixed monthly baseline commonly lands between $6,000 and $12,000 before a single ingredient is purchased or a single hour of labor is paid. Layer in food cost and labor at roughly 75% to 85% of revenue combined, and a truck needs $20,000 to $35,000 in monthly revenue just to reach true break-even, not the glamorous profit the festival photos imply. This is the number that should drive every decision in this business. Whether to take the festival gig, whether to sign the food truck park lease, whether to hire a third staffer. Not, can I afford this? But does this get me closer to or further from the monthly nut? Owners who never calculate this number are running on vibes, and vibes don't pay commissary rent in February. There's one more competitive pressure independent owners increasingly face: the rise of branded multi-truck fleets and food truck franchises operating in the same cities. These operators often run 5, 10, or 20 trucks under one brand, which lets them negotiate lower group insurance rates, buy food in true bulk through central commissaries, and outbid independents for the best festival and event slots, because they can absorb one bad weekend across a larger fleet. An independent single truck owner isn't just competing with the truck parked next to them, they're competing with a logistics network that has already solved many of the cost problems in this script at scale. This doesn't mean independents can't win. Hyperlocal reputation, a tighter menu, and genuine catering relationships are advantages a franchise fleet often can't replicate quickly. But it does mean the days of assuming, if I just show up with good food, people will come, are largely over in dense urban markets. The competition isn't just other trucks, it's increasingly other balance sheets. The final economic reality is the asset value itself. Unlike a traditional business, which might sell for 3 to 5 times its annual earnings, a food truck is rarely sold on its P&L. It is sold on the raw value of the physical asset. A custom $150,000 truck, after 5 years of hard, everyday mobile kitchen use, might only be worth $60,000. It is a rapidly depreciating asset. If you funded the purchase with a high-interest loan and failed, the sale of the truck will rarely cover your remaining debt. The dream was never really about the cool logo or the perfect taco. The real product in this industry is a perfectly functioning mobile engine that protects the consistency of your high-volume sales hours. The true business is the ruthless optimization of ticket times, the strict management of prime costs, and the discipline to build a cash reserve for the winter. Whether you buy a brand new $200,000 truck or risk it on a used $70,000 model, the cooking was always the easy part. Surviving the economics was the real business.